everyone, and welcome to Homestead for a Living. I'm doing another parking lot garage video here about chickens. This is about my third or fourth take attempting to take this video because each of the previous ones I just got way too sarcastic during the video, so let's see if I can pull this off. So I just finished watching yet another video about this avian influenza, and the narrative is really being pushed hard now across YouTube and across the spectrum of media, alternative and mainstream and otherwise, ranging from agricultural extensions to hatcheries to homestead videos. And you'll notice if you watch a lot of the homestead videos talking about this bird cold or whatever it is, whatever they're calling it, you'll notice that a lot of them are very new channels that have only been around for a few months, which I find very interesting, yet they have a lot of followers despite very little content. But anyway, I just watched one. It had some kind of clickbaity title to the tune of like something about the avian influenza killed 400 of our birds. It was something like that. And in it, you find out that that's not really true at all. That's a lie in the title. When you listen to the video, the guy claims that he found a bunch of sick birds and he reached out to a local agricultural extension, and somehow the government gets involved and they come out to his farm and they run these incredibly accurate PCR tests. I said I wasn't going to get sarcastic, but we all know that PCR tests are not accurate and they are not intended to diagnose disease. That's a fact. You can look up the words from the founder. You can hear him say it. The guy that invented those tests says they're not intended to diagnose disease. What they are is a useful means for the unholy conglomeration of corporations and government that we have to torture the data to make it say whatever fits their narrative and their goals. And so, of course, all of his birds test positive. Although the ones he had locked indoors didn't test positive. Only the ones that were outdoors, because that's the narrative. Lock your birds indoors. Get them out of that sunshine. Get them to live like all those people in that tower. Just like the virus of the past 2 years for the humans. The solution is lock them indoors, away from fresh air. Compromise those immune systems. Don't let them get any vitamin D. Don't let them get any sunshine. Keep them stressed out. Obviously, we know what the result of that is. These birds, just like the humans, will become sickly. In addition, when you have all of these grain shortages, it's likely that most birds throughout the world are going to suffer from malnutrition. And then you add a complete removal from nature to that, of course they're going to get very sick. So anyway, all that to say, his birds tested positive. And the verbiage he uses in this video is fascinating because he says things to the tune of, they said if they tested positive, I had no choice, and that we had to cull the flock. And so that's what killed this flock, was not the virus, it was killing them. And he uses words like, we had no choice, they leave you no choice. But that's utter BS, or should I say chicken S. They cannot force you to cull your flocks. Get that into your head now. You have a constitutional right that you cannot be deprived of your property without due process. A SWAT team from the USDA is not due process. Due process is when they show up with a warrant and then you go to trial and you lose the trial, then the government can constitutionally deprive you of liberty. So anybody that seeks to force themselves onto your farm is breaking the law and should be treated as any trespasser would be treated on your property. They cannot cull your flocks, and it's utterly absurd to do so. Viruses are natural. Viruses are good. All viruses are welcome on my farm. All bacteria, all plants, all people, all animals are welcome on my farm as long as it's in a controlled fashion, I guess I should say, when it comes to people. People are welcome on my farm when I welcome them. What's going to happen when your birds get sick with a seasonal virus is what has happened throughout all of history, all natural history. Viruses come in and they select the weak, just like bugs do this to your plants. This is why we also don't fight insects in our gardens. They select the weak ones and they remove them for you. They cull the ones that need to be culled, the weak genetics, the ones that weren't absorbing nutrition and building up an immune system to deal with this disease. Those birds die, and now the remaining breeding stock is resilient and more evolved and better adapted. So when they come in with this absurd ideology of containing seasonal illnesses, which did not work and will never work, all they do is weaken the genetics and remove those from the flock, because they cull the entire flock, those that would have adapted. And so they keep these viruses just stewing and make it so there's no herd immunity if there's no herd. It's absurd and it's dangerous and it's truly insane. Truly, like an insane person came up with this. or a very malicious, evil person came up with this entire ideology and this entire course of action that is being posited to us as something we have no choice in by the mainstream media, by all these alternative outlets, and of course by government and their crony agricultural extensions, which come to us from academia, which we know is a compromised institution generally. So all this to say, you do not have to cull your flocks. You can if you want, but I won't be culling my flocks, and I sure won't be locking them indoors. Y'all stay safe, be well, and happy homesteading.